Howdy, friends and neighbors. Jake Vaadeland here talking to you, and you're listening to Music Row.
Welcome to Music Row, a backstage pass to your favorite country artists. Here's your host, Leake.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for all the likes, the shares. If you haven't already done so, hit subscribe, hit like, hit share. It helps keep the momentum. I heard that we could lose some status on a platform if we don't get a couple more likes. Is that really a thing? If you can, that's great. Maybe do it right after you hear this one. Jake Vaadeland is this week's guest on the Music Row podcast. This dude, if you have ever been to the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville, and I recommend you go, but if you've ever been, this guy was molded from everything that you see on the walls there. He's from northern Saskatchewan. And when I say he is born of an old cloth, born of an old sound, it's true. Grew up listening to sounds on a phonograph. And I know for some, that is a Google search away before you go, oh. Listening to old records that were hand-me-downs and such throughout the family. Learned how to play in the household. Self-taught, plays a number of instruments. I don't know, I think you're going to really like this guy. Could have been a farmer. He's an artist. Jake Vaadeland is coming up on the Music Row podcast.
Hi, my name is Kim Stockwood. I am a proud Newfoundlander and a Canadian singer-songwriter. In a landscape where many lack access to health benefits or employee assistance programs, the Unison Fund serves as a lifeline of hope for musicians and music industry professionals facing medical emergencies or mental health challenges. To learn more about Unison and their programs, please visit unisonfund.ca.
Howdy, friends and neighbors. Jake Vaadeland here talking to you, and you're listening to Music Row with Leake. Howdy, howdy. There we go. Just, you know how that is then, so.
Jake, you sound like you've done programming before.
Maybe. Yeah.
How long is it for Jake on stage touring as an artist now? Are you approaching, would you say it's 10 years in yet to your career?
Well, it depends how you think of it, I guess. It's been just over 5 years with the show and the group that I have now since it'll be going, I guess it's 2026. It technically did start in 2020.
This is the Sturgeon River Boys?
Yeah. So I guess 6 years, but we're going on 6 years. But, professionally make my living doing it, I'd say 4 or 5 years.
Tough to make a living in music in general. Especially hard when you start in a town of like 500 people.
Yeah.
When did you know that it was going to be something you could do or at least give a shot? Because you're not only in a small town, you're in a small town that is still 2 hours away from small towns.
Yeah, well, and before that I was on a farm in the middle of nowhere. Not
Jake,
even in
most
a town.
people that would say that the town you're from, Cut Knife, Saskatchewan,
Yeah.
population 500 people, is a farm.
Yeah, well, it's sometimes the place I have there kind of looks like one, but yeah, no, I grew up on a farm and we played music at the end of the day, but it wasn't something like making your living. Playing music was never mentioned, really.
This is the whole family that's playing, right? Or is this the farmhands
neighbors
as well?
and everybody, yeah, and
Self-entertained unit.
whether they were good at it or not, really. And so we did that at the end of most days, and that was just something we did, cultural thing, I guess. But my parents were both very musical, and they did do some work with that, but farming always came first and stuff like. And I think I don't know what I really decided. I bet you it dawned on me that this is what I need to do when I was about 16 or 17. The idea popped in my head that I was going to do this. Up until then, they had been shaping me to probably be a cattle farmer, but I kind of thought, well, how many can there be?
Right.
There can only be so many of those, and I'm an only child, but we had a big extended family, and we were all one family there.
This is a whole family that moved from Norway. There was like a big pilgrimage decades ago.
Well,
one at a time? Is that what it was?
Kind of. Well, 96 years ago was when my great-grandfather came over. He had the homestead done in 1930 anyway, so the homestead was done 96 years ago. And Grandpa was born in 33 in that house. And I remember that house. It had to get knocked down, I guess, but it was still standing. It was a log home that my great-grandfather built. And there were two other families from over there. I guess they must have known each other from what I hear a little bit there. And they moved over too with all their feuds and problems still with each other. So
this is from Norway.
From Norway, yeah. So they carry back a history to there too. And
isn't that great? It's like, yeah, it sucks. We're gonna move to Saskatchewan. Yeah, hopefully we don't run into the Vaadelands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And first thing they do is they run into them.
Well, they all come over. I think they knew what they were doing, and the Orsteds and the Amundsons, they came over, and the Vaadelands were there. So it was Scandinavian settlement, really. And I was actually just telling some of my guys there, because they can't really comprehend. Sometimes I say things, well, I'm Norwegian or whatever. Well, I'm not. I'm Canadian. But I'll say something like that without thinking. We come from Norway or something like that. They'll say, well, no, you don't. You've never even been there. I've been there now to tour, but they used to bug me and say, you don't know anything. But really what it was like, when them families came over and they'd create like, Little Italy or Chinatown, and there's still very much their culture in a new area.
Also escaping wars.
Yeah, and that's what Grandpa, and there was lots of tension there. But we grew up in there, Scandinavia. My grandparents and all the elders there, they all spoke Norwegian to each other. And we had all of our traditional meals like kumla, and we had lefse for dessert, lutefisk, and all the salted herring with sill and eggs we'd have. I got sick of that.
I'm going to need you to write that down for me so I can go on Uber Eats later.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll have it. It takes about 4 hours to make one meal of it, but we would demolish it in about 20 minutes.
That's the thing that I love, though, about when you look at any culture of people, and I know there's all kinds of pros and cons to immigration, but what I love about when you go to a new country, and in your case, it was your family moving to Canada, even though they had feuds with other people from Scandinavia that ended up in their same neighborhood because it was the only people that they knew or where to go or who to talk to, they stuck together.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the Greeks, and it's the same thing with the Portuguese. And I love all that because it has just that great culture of family and helping. Sure, there's feuding, but everyone fights with their sisters too.
I joke a bit about the feuds. It was I grew up with the tension there too. It's always been the other. I don't think it's any secret. Not like they'd be. They don't get out of their area much, so they don't really hear anything I say about it anyway. But I wrote Farmer Preacher about all that stuff too, and it's like those were your two options really, and there that had gone on between our families. If they controlled the church there, they could control us finally, because my great grandfather, there was some jealousy there about his success, and he was really rebellious, and I think that's where I get it from, because they wanted me to be a farmer. They wanted him to be a farmer in Norway. He said, no, I'm not doing that. So he wanted to move to Canada. That was about the most rebellious thing you could do as a 17, 18-year-old at that time, was come over and homestead here and not take over your farm. That was the in thing that the kids were doing then, was getting married young and moving over to Canada. And so he was very rebellious for his time. And I think that's where I get it from, because no matter how much they said, don't do this music thing, I decided I was going to go do that finally when I knew I didn't want to be a cattle farmer. And he was very successful at it at that time, and the farm does okay now, but he did well and built a nice home himself. But there was definitely, so they figured if they kept us as deacons and let the other families be the elders and all that sort of thing, then they have their control over there, But
you mentioned that there's music in the family and there's guitar in the family and stuff, but you're self-taught, right? And on a number of instruments?
For the most part, yeah.
And that's just by playing by ear, sitting around in the kitchen with everybody else?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Because you're really good. Like, the picking thing is not a lot of people can do it.
Oh, like with that new solo record type, like that.
Yeah.
That's a scratch style. You play the melody with the thumb and you play the chords with your pointer finger.
Good.
So you got a band right there on your guitar. You got the full band.
Well, okay, let's jump into that. You win a Juno with a band, and the first thing you do is go out and do a solo album. This is Jake Vaadeland. And am I saying that right?
Well, I would say there's a lot of different. Vaadeland is how we say it.
Okay. There's a new album. This is Jake Vaadeland, and there's no band with you this time around. And you just decide to pick up, after winning that Juno with the band for Traditional Roots Album of the Year. I don't know what categories mean anything anymore to anyone. Yeah. Whatever. You got lumped into something and you won. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
But
then you end up going to the beautiful new National Music Center in Calgary.
Yeah.
Just yourself and the guitar, and decide to play a bunch of songs that influenced you.
Pretty much, and songs of mine that I originally wrote that sounded like those songs when I wrote them. So
like the Homesteader song.
Like that one, yeah. But there's some like Farmer Preacher. We've released that before, but I've done it in its original state now. Like the way I wrote it is not the way we ended up doing it with the band, and that's the version that everybody knows. But I just thought, we do all this stuff, and this is good. I like this country music that we're doing, and this rip roar and bluegrass and all that. But it's literally in the title. It says, "This is Jake Vaadeland. It's who I am." When I pick up, it's as simple as this. When I pick up my guitar in my home and I'm playing it, it's usually an archtop guitar, and I'm playing old Carter family songs that are on this record. I'm not playing "Ain't Going Back to Nashville" or fast songs like that. It's songs that you can do solo, that people did solo and recorded solo and would sing to themselves on the doorsteps of their cabin, stuff like that.
You sound to me a little bit too like a Hank Williams Jr. a Hank Williams. Sound to me like a Hank Williams, but without the drunken bar fights, jail time, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully I'll keep it that way.
Yeah, I think Hank would have liked to have kept it that way as well. But that's, we're talking about songs that influence you, and a lot of these songs are from the Carter family, June Carter, and what a incredible lineage of family that is there. So was that stuff that was being played that was around the house, or?
Yeah, and Carter family is in, say even June Carter's mother and AP. That was the original Carter family. There is where a lot of those come from. And the first I heard those songs wasn't from, if I did hear them, they were on 78 RPM records that my grandpa's brothers or he had bought and put in their saddlebag and brought back home and stuff like that. That's where I had heard it. I mean, we didn't have cell service out there. I wasn't listening to Spotify or anything, and nobody played it on the radio anymore. So Grandpa didn't go out and buy CDs of the Carter family. So what we had was literally those 78s of Wilf Carter and the Carter, two different Carters, Wilf Carter from Canada and then the Carter family from the States. And that's where I would hear it. But that was only on special occasion that he'd bring out, the phonograph machine and whatever and do that. But where it really come from was these were just family favorites that friends and neighbors, they all know, Keep on the Sunny Side or Will the Circle Be Unbroken. So we would just start playing and singing those songs like that. And then say when I did get cell service on the phone and moved into Cut Knife with my mother, well, then I started looking into this and finding out who is the Carter family, and then I would learn about the Grand Ole Opry and the sponsors and Martha White, Pet Milk and Flatt and Scruggs, Fair and Young, Ernest Tubb.
You end up becoming instantly a historian because of modern technology. Like you just, here we are.
I was able to see it all at that point. That's what I grew up with, and then I was able to see it. And then that led to what I found out about the music industry today. It was because then I had learned about all that. I grew up with that, and then I learned about it, and I thought, this is great. I want to do this. Got into it, went to Nashville. Nobody's doing this anymore. Nobody wants this anymore. Nashville doesn't like it. You know what I mean? And none of those people that ran Nashville or worked there have any inspiration or any hold on it anymore as far as I could see. And I was really sad when I went there. So I wrote that song about Ain't Going Back to Nashville. I'm going to have to at some point. But I was really let down because I was excited to go to where I was researching about all this. I got there and it was nothing at all, not a sign or trace of any of it.
It's wildly ironic when you think of it. Did you go to the Country Music Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I did.
Because that is what you're talking to me about right now fills those walls.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't fill the wall, it's inspired the next generation of people that are on the walls and are, when you think about what Elvis was singing and stuff like that, his inspiration was coming from stuff that you're talking about today.
Yeah.
And so on. So it's pretty interesting, but I think you are a much better artist if you are true to who you are as an artist, because there is probably 95% of country music artists today are chasing what they think country radio wants or what country fans want.
Yeah.
And it's really weird.
Yeah. Well,
you don't stand out that way.
It's good to have character. I mean, everybody is unique. A lot of people, I mean, there was a lot of pressure to hide that growing up. Like in school, a lot of people, or at least when I was going to school, a lot of my friends and stuff, they did too. Just copycat. They did what they thought was right, what everybody else did. They liked the same kind of music. They all did 2 classes more than they needed to and got 30 credits instead of 24. So, a lot more. Stay after school and stuff. No, I went to university and all that sort of thing. And I didn't want to do that. I thought there had to be a better way because I don't want to start my life when I'm 30. I wanted to start it when I was 18 or younger, so.
There's a line in the Homesteaders song that I think is super on paper, very basic, but very telling, because if you know, you know, and that is where the summer's warm and the winter freezes your eyes.
Yeah.
And if you live in Saskatchewan, if you live in Manitoba, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Northern Alberta, you know exactly what that means, because the temperature differential between summer and winter, it's like the wildest place on earth.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest temperature
change. And we pay
change.
to live there too.
It is unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Where they don't even call most of the winter storms blizzards. They're just like, it's just a bit colder than the day before.
Just snowing. But the freezing your eyes thing, I thought about that. Will anybody understand what this means? Am I joking? But I'm serious. When you would go out, if it's minus 40 or whatever, and we're going out to feed grain to the cattle, that wet in your eyes like that, that'll freeze right up. And your eyelids are sticking together and all that sort of thing. You get frost right here.
How about, there's not only that, there's another time when you can go out in the winter in these territories and your lungs won't even bring in the air because your lungs are like, no.
Yeah.
This is not good for us. We gotta climatize a little bit first.
Yeah, it's such a dry, it's not a heavy air in the winter. It's a very dry, thin, piercing.
Yeah, like you could be walking along in Saskatoon or wherever and honestly be shooting lightning off of your hand because it's so dry in the winters.
Yeah.
But I like that in a sense because it's another character builder, because it forces you to be with others for, I think, extended periods of time. Yeah. If it's really cold outside, you're not going for a walk. You're not going for those big cruises and, some self-exploration. You're around people more often than not. And that's, again, back to what we were talking about off the top, a little bit more of a sense of community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Touring wise, I imagine, and I've heard this from a couple artists, but I'm guessing that Europe is embracing the heck out of you right now, because they're looking for unique, as I understand. They're looking for a country sound, and a lot of it is in touring. Yeah. So you're kind of like, you're like a walking billboard of history of country in a sense, but it's a modern world.
Yeah. Well, Europe has been great. I don't know if it's just a theory or what. I mean, I've heard a lot of them people over there telling me that they, their grandparents and that, they didn't all really know all that much about what was going on in the 1940s and 50s with the country music and all that sort of thing. And so I just figured that everybody there, no matter what age, it's like this brand new thing to them. They've never heard it before. It's just this American thing, they call it, even though I'm Canadian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
The genre overall.
yeah, it's just this thing. And so we go over there and they're blown away. And we play in the prairies too, and they enjoy it, but they're definitely more reserved. Farmers and stuff, they've heard it all their lives. I mean, my grandparents talk about going to the barn dances and all that sort of thing. But so it has been very enthusiastic over in Europe with the type of show and the type of entertainment and music that goes with it too. So,
is it easier for you to tour? Would you say it's easier for you to tour with the band in Europe than it is in Canada because of transportation and the great expanse of Canada?
Yeah, touring in Europe has been quite comfortable but overwhelming. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of people. We have a driver there usually, and it's just a nicer touring situation. We have a nicer Sprinter van and stuff like that. It's kind of ironic, actually, or it's kind of funny rather, just that things are. We've been doing it here in Canada longer. Shows are usually better here and stuff, but we're still almost slumming it. Not necessarily, but kind of compared to how it is in Europe, and so it's just funny with how that works.
Well, and country music is a hard ticket to sell in a lot of territories.
Mm-hmm.
There's the good and the bad. There's all kinds of festivals across Canada, all kinds of state fairs across the U.S. and exhibitions and rodeos and everything. But you can't do them night after night. It's one Friday and then maybe another Friday from now, and it's hard to book a tour when you're stuck in kind of like that festival or that exhibition circuit.
Yeah, and luckily for us, touring here has been good. The on the road part is definitely slummier than what we're used to in Europe. So like we have an older 15-passenger van, and I have to keep spraying the rust on it and stuff,
15 passenger? That is
one
so
of those
awesome.
Classic 2011 Econoline things. It's not that old, but it's still got that classic body before they switched to the Sprinter type.
Absolutely.
And I like it, but it's, you know what I mean? It's definitely, it's outdated and that, but
price of fuel on those things.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, especially right now and on our tour now, but we're prepared for it. But we like touring all over as long as I'm touring,
Well, yeah, and it's getting up on stage takes away all the pain of having to spray that rust hole one more time on your van. Like that is, and that thought is out. It's gone.
Yeah.
And it's just get on stage and play. Do you write much with the band when you're out on the road, or are you just like, we're going to go perform these songs and we're going to relax?
Yeah, can't say I've ever written a song with anybody before yet that I can think of. Everything I've written has been my own. I can't really...
With a lot of stories that are passed down from family lineage?
That and also just my own things that have happened, my own experiences. That's how it started. This last record was a lot of stories and stuff.
Didn't you discover like old diaries or papers that were written or something like that? Or is it just hand-me-down stories from family?
It's passed down stories, but there was a lot of documentation kept. Like I say, we grew up very much. Like I said, I'm Canadian, but I'm very much. My culture is very Norwegian. I grew up Norwegian, really there.
Yeah.
And we would go to church and stuff. They had hymn books in Norwegian. Like some of them old people would go up and sing a song in Norwegian that they didn't know how to translate it to English. They didn't have a book for it in English. So if we didn't know all the words to that, we would just sit and listen to them, and it was a really cool thing. So we had things like that, and those books came from Norway and stuff. And my grandpa and grandma, they've got books and stuff that are hymn books and Bibles and all that.
Did you play in the church?
We had a little country church there, and I went and played guitar there on Sundays sometimes, and there was a lot of things that maybe I didn't see eye to eye with, but the singing, their singing was absolutely unbeatable, the most glorious thing ever,
I've told a story about something that's kind of similar. When I would go to church when I was a kid, I would see this guy from school, and he was the stereotypical rocker guy. And on the weekend, he was playing with the church, and they might have had, 3 or 4 different times in which he would be playing, like throughout the weekend, with the different sermons and stuff. And it wasn't long after I saw him do it a couple times, and I'm like, oh, this guy's genius. He's getting free opportunity to play live, and he's forcing himself to just get better and better. And that's because it's really hard to get to play live.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're in a big town or a small town, just to find that stage. And I think, looking at it, it seems like the church is a real good way.
Yeah.
If you got a regular gig every Sunday, and you're forced to play songs that probably aren't yours. Like, you know what I mean? Like a song that you would generally gravitate to. Yeah.
Well, and that was good because we played a lot of we were it was a country church, it was we had mandolins and fiddle and guitar. Somebody played piano, and it wasn't a modern youthful type thing at all, really. And I did enjoy it. I still still consider myself, Christian, but just not as they were that way necessarily. But like I say, that opportunity to go and be with friends and neighbors, regardless of what the clashing was great. And I felt it there at that time, playing music and stuff. That was my favorite part. And because that's the only time I'd feel the connection or the benefit of being there. And so that it did help, and it did also, make me passionate about going out and touring, not just recording music, but being with people, playing music, and spreading happiness, making everybody happy, and ideally brightening people's day, sending them home with a smile,
So what is, for Jake, would you rather be on the stage playing, or would you rather have just released a new song? Because there's some people who can take it either way. Like, I know a band that broke up because one guy just wanted to be in the studio and write.
Yeah, recording is so easy for me. So it's not a top priority because it's something I can just do quickly. I mean, the new record we just put out, I did that in 8 hours, I think, altogether. Recorded 23 songs live off the floor, about no more than 3 takes. We didn't go above. I think most of them were the first take.
Was the National Music Center looking at you going, hey, we didn't expect that we were going to do 23 songs today?
And they were a little confused. I came in, I said, look, this is kind of funny because you guys are set up for really complicated stuff, but I just need a microphone and a tape machine. And so they did that, and it sounded great, and that's all they did. And there was really nothing to mix or master. But I would, if I had to choose between recording and playing shows, I would rather be on stage entertaining, because let's say you go back to when you couldn't record music at all, entertainment, traveling circus or whatever it was, or a traveling act, or those guys that wear the hats and the red tailcoat that would go to theaters and bring the acts that they found with them and stuff. They didn't have recorded stuff or anything to, but they were there
putting on a show.
Yeah, they traveled and they entertained people, and I just really want to. It's the music is one thing, but I really wanted to be an entertainer and put on a show that has music in it.
So then, as much as you can record simply and you can play, and that's the easiest thing, you got to then market you, and that's got to be a whole new world of unique that you might. I know most people would leave behind and say if they never had to release another Instagram or a TikTok or whatever it is, but you've got a lot of followers now.
Well, thankfully with Instagram and Facebook and the regular posts about what we're up to, what we're going to be up to, all that stuff, and the dates, and I've got help with that. So that's good that somebody's doing that. But the TikTok is all me, really. I didn't want to do that. And they said,
congratulations, you're officially an artist.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I said, well, I never used TikTok, so I still don't use it. I post on it. I don't really use it or look at it. But they said, yeah, just 1 or 2 videos a week. You got to start doing it. It'll work. I didn't believe anybody. I thought this is going to be stupid. My stuff doesn't work on TikTok. That's for modern youth and stuff. And they're not going to like this. And I guess it worked. I just kept at it as I was posting. Anytime I have time off at home, I do my chores, I do my gardening, whatever. I come in, I'm playing music anyway, so I might as well just record the song. I'll just sit down and play a little song quick with a cup of tea or whatever as I break. So I decided, well, I'll just record it, tell them what I'm doing, talk to them a bit, like we would on the farm, and just put it out there. And I guess people really liked that, and it kind of got successful there with TikTok, and I'm glad about that. Well, it's fine, it's not doing bad.
So now, you know what the problem is that you didn't want to do it. It worked out. Now someone might come up with some other idea that you might jump on right away, and you're going to really regret that decision saying, you told me it was going to be good, and I don't like it.
That's already happened a few times, and we get through it,
Yeah, just delete, just move on.
But it's what can you do? And then you just, let's not do that again. And at least now we know, so.
Best place to follow you. Is it TikTok? Would you rather people follow you on TikTok because it's Jake _, or is it @Jake?
I don't even know.
On all the socials, because I know there were a couple of them that were different. There was an _ one. I should have wrote.
The Instagram might be the
underscore. I'll edit this and I'll throw them all into this. Yeah,
I would say they're both different and good for different things. And I've been trying to get the TikTok followers to come over to Instagram, because that is where all the information is. Because I don't think everybody that follows me on TikTok knows really what I do. They just see me in the house playing these songs and stuff. And they think I'm a gardener at my house for a living or something. But I do go out on the road, and I've been trying to get the point across. If you go over to Instagram, it'd be nice to see the followers I have on TikTok there, because then they could follow the career and the music, the actual touring that I'm doing.
It's really interesting, because you're right. They are completely different media outlets, and how people consume content on one is vastly different from the next, and so on. And it is what it is. But we can find everything from Jake online. Jake, thanks for doing this. I really do appreciate, getting to meet you and have the conversation. I look forward to doing this again.
Yeah, it's good to see you, talk with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks to Jake Vaadeland for dropping in on the Music Row podcast. You can follow him on all the socials @Jake Vaadeland. That is spelled JakeVaadeland. That's on a .com. That's an @. Go follow him. Go check him out. And fall in love if you already haven't done so. This has been the Music Row podcast. Give me a follow @Leake. Thanks for tuning in.
Follow Music Row on X @Music Row Country, on Instagram @Music Row Official. Music Row is produced by Shed of Dreams.